You've been secretly taking pictures of this man's wife for years. This is absolutely insane. Is it crack? Are there drugs involved? Hello, little enzymes. Welcome back to Dacia's Digest. The topic of today's video is kind of like family issues, unrequited love type of vibe. It will be a little bit of a longer video today as well. I'm going to try to do all longer videos for the month of October. The last one that I did was longer and you guys seem to really miss the longer videos. So it's okay. We can try it out and see how it goes for this month. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get into it. The first story is, my brother-in-law just told my wife he is in love with her. Anyway, yesterday my brother-in-law out of the blue asks my wife if she can meet him for lunch. There is something he needs to talk to her about. My wife tells me about it before accepting and asks if it might have something to do with my sister. Maybe they are having problems and he wants to discuss with another woman. I find it odd, but I tell her to go find out. So she accepts and they meet for lunch at a place near her office the next day. That's where he tells her that he is in love with her. He lays it on thick, how beautiful she is, how she makes him feel, how he would treat her if she were his, how it was love at first sight, blah, blah, blah. Mind you, this man is married to my sister and has 2 kids. Yo, please. God, please. Why? He said he and my wife had a friendly relationship. Our families see each other often as we are a close family. He does text her frequently, but there was nothing overly sexual. My brother-in-law texts and calls my mom too, so none of us thought anything of it. I want to stop a moment and emphasize that my wife is not cheating on me with him. My wife and I share an iPad and I see every one of her texts from there. We are also looking at each other's phones all the time, so none of that is going on. So she doesn't let him finish, walks out and calls me immediately to tell me what happened. While she is on the phone with me, the texts from him start. He didn't mean it. He thinks it's only infatuation, blah, blah, blah. She leaves work early to come home to talk to me about this, and her phone is blowing up the entire time with calls and texts from him. I tell her to answer, and she put it on speaker so I could hear. He's crying, begging not to tell my sister. Apparently, when we were together this past weekend, he thought that she was flirting with him and that he thought they had a moment when they were alone in our kitchen. Now, my wife is a major ball buster, and I suppose I can see how that can be taken as flirting. He asks if she told me, to which I answer yes, as I am on speaker. Then he starts begging me. This went on a while. My main question was whether he had cheated on my sister before. He said no and swore on his kids' lives. It's just my wife, and he said I should understand. What? So I'm done listening at that point and told him I wasn't going to do anything tonight and I would call him tomorrow. That's where we are right now, and I really don't know what to do. My wife says drive over there right now and tell my sister, but the idea of wrecking my sister's family is killing me. Thinking about what it will do to my nieces makes me want to vomit. But you gotta do it at some point. I mean, it sucks, but like this is where we are now. This is a situation that this man has put y'all in at this point. It's gonna come up sooner or later. So would you rather her have a cheating, lying husband or be a little bit upset for right now and move on with her life later? He said, I know the right thing to do is to tell my sister, but I'm also thinking about my wife as well. It's not her fault, but there is sure to be resentment toward her from my family. Even if my sister doesn't divorce him and they reconcile, I can't see how we are ever together again like we were before, if at all. This whole episode can tear my family apart. I don't give a crap about him. He tried to destroy my family, but I do care about everyone else. I don't know what to do. Any advice will help. See, the thing is, the family is destroyed either way. It doesn't matter if this person knows, that person knows, oh, we can't go to this event or that event. Y'all are not going to be able to do that either way because of this. So having them know is not really going to make a difference, and they need to know who they're dealing with. If you got any other siblings, they need to watch their spouses around your brother-in-law because who knows? So I mean, it sucks, but like, you have to say something. There was an update within the post after a few hours, but let me read the comments first. Someone said, tell your sister now. And someone responded, before he gets to spin the narrative and try to make your wife the villain. That's also a good point. Unfortunately, yes, that likely would happen. He gonna get home and be like, hey, look, before you hear anything, she tried to come on to me and da-da-da, and I told her no. Da-ba-da-ba-da. It's really one of those, like, the first person to talk to the police gets the best deal. Something similar to that. Someone said, you are not wrecking her marriage. He is doing that. You will be wrecking your relationship with your sister if you don't tell. And you should be the one to tell her. Your wife should not be involved in that conversation. You don't want her to be a target of your sister's anger. Go to your sister's house in the morning. Do not warn him. Be straightforward and bring snapshots of those texts he sent. OP responded, I don't think my sister will be angry with my wife, but how do you not feel some sort of resentment? I mean, I guess, but I don't see, if anything, like the wife literally did nothing. So I don't see where the resentment would come from, because it's not like the wife actually is doing anything. She's literally just existing. So you're going to just resent somebody just for existing? I don't see that being a logical chain of events, but maybe he knows his sister better than me. Someone else said, the longer you wait to tell your sister, the more betrayed she will feel by you both. I understand taking some time to think through what you want to say, but you are giving him time to come up with a story to make you both look like the bad guys. I completely agree. I think he should tell them that night. Right then, I would go over to the house. We all can have a conference call in person. We all can be there. So we see. And I don't think that he was, but I hope that he was recording when the guy was on speaker saying all the stuff that he was saying. Oh, yeah, don't tell my wife and all this stuff. I don't think they were, though. But the first update was after a few hours. He said, so everyone that told me last night that I couldn't wait to tell my sister was right. A little after 12 last night, I get a call from my sister and says that she has to tell me that my wife tried to begin an affair with her husband. So he tried to pin it on her. I told her that's not the case and I will be right over. So I get on the phone, wake my mother and father, tell them what's going on, wake my younger brother, tell him. My mom and dad head to my sister's to sit with their kids, and my brother comes to our house to sit with ours, and my wife and I head over. My sister is out in the front porch with my brother-in-law when we get there. He looks beaten. He knows we have texts and voicemail. I really don't know what he was hoping to accomplish. My wife gives my sister her phone. She sees the texts, listens to the voicemails, and he starts sobbing before she can say anything. I'm so glad they had some evidence, because, boy, men will do everything to flip something. They will do everything to flip the narrative. Not just men, women too. People will do everything to flip the narrative in their favor. What did he really think was going to happen? Did he really think they weren't going to come over with the evidence? Did he really think they were just going to let him blame it on OP's wife and not say anything? What? Come on, bro. That's what happens when you don't think straight. You think with other parts of your body that don't have a brain. He said, my brother-in-law is a firefighter, a big, tough guy, so this is a scene. My sister is pretty tough. She tells him to stop it, pack a bag, and go. She can't stand to look at him. There's more begging, but she has no patience for it. So my sister walks off to talk with my wife. I see them hugging, so at least I feel like they are okay. They have actually been friends since college. I met my wife through my sister, so they are tight. The thought of this wrecking her friendship had been weighing on me. This leaves me with my brother-in-law. He's broken, so I feel more sympathy than anger. He says he's sorry, he just couldn't help it. It's not hard to fall in love with my wife, so I get it, but damn. He eventually picks himself up and leaves. So we are there all night. My sister starts asking my wife why her husband would think any of this would work out. He had to have some reason to believe that she felt the same way. My sister says they hadn't been having any problems. Everything was as it had always been. My wife is crying at this point and says there's nothing you haven't seen. She gives my sister her phone again, and they read every text ever sent over the past 2 years. Nothing there. My wife was just herself. She has a playful personality, and so does my brother-in-law, so they tease each other. She does the same thing to my mom and younger brother as well. The only thing she could think of was the moment in the kitchen this past weekend that he referenced. They both went for the fridge at the same time, and they playfully jostled for who would get there first. He lets her win, but he reached around her waist to get a beer slowly, and she did feel the way that he did it was a little inappropriate. She says she should have called him on it, but didn't want to make it a big thing. She feels maybe the fact that she didn't gave him hope. My sister doesn't blame her, so at least that's good. I hope she don't, because that's a slippery slope. That's a slippery slope, because the sister don't blame her now, but once she gets alone and she got to deal with them kids alone and she ain't got no warm body next to her in bed, that's when she might start thinking like, nah, she was too friendly in those messages. Nah, she led him on when they were in that kitchen. She shouldn't have been touching like, right now it's cool, but I could see this going downhill fast. He said, so then my sister starts going through his MacBook to see what else she doesn't know about. She's angry and frantic at this point. She guesses the password, starts searching, and finds a lot of pictures of my wife on the computer. They went back years and always isolated on just her. What? We had gone as couples to the Caribbean a few years earlier. My wife wore a bikini. She usually doesn't, but since it was adults only, she did. There were probably 50 pictures of her in that bathing suit. That is creepy as hell. That is creepy as hell. He said, so he's been secretly snapping these pictures for years. Does this now enter restraining order territory? This has taken a creepy turn. I'll update when I have more. For years? You've been secretly taking pictures of this man's wife for years. Not months, not days, years. What? Update 1 day later. I've shared with my wife many of your comments. It makes her feel better that virtually everyone here holds her blameless, so thank you. Unfortunately, the mess continues. My sister agreed to talk to her husband last night and let him explain. She puts my wife on FaceTime during this conversation, so there will be no lying. I'm listening in as well off camera. My sister is also recording the whole thing. He admits he's been obsessed with my wife for years. It started the day he met her. My wife and I were dating at the time, but he met my wife before he met me. Like I said, my wife and sister are longtime friends, and my sister wanted to introduce her boyfriend to her friends. He thought it was only physical for a while, but over time, he knew it was more. Can we just practice some self-control? Like, this is ridiculous, sir. My sister nearly kicks him out right there, but listens a little more, and she eventually asks what made him think that my wife would leave me for him. He answers that there is obviously mutual attraction, and he figured it would begin as an affair and then things would progress from there. My wife and sister explode at that point. A lot of cussing, a lot of screaming. Phone call is over. My wife hangs up because at this point she is concerned for me. She's shaken and distraught, assures me the attraction was one-sided. I never thought it wasn't. Even if she did find him physically attractive, I know she would never act on it. She's just not the type. Early on in our relationship, she caught me admiring her as she was dressing, asked if I liked what I saw before her face turned cold, and told me to never F up or I'd never see it again. She meant it, and she's serious about trust. Anyway, I knew my brother-in-law was a little cocky, but my goodness, I never knew he thought that highly of himself to be able to pull off something like this. I talked to my sister later on, and she is contacting the lawyer Monday to see what steps she can take to limit his exposure to her kids. As far as she is concerned, he is detached from reality. That's all I have for now. I'll update once the dust settles a bit. I'm so surprised that he actually admitted to being obsessed with the lady for years. I mean, but I guess at that point, you can't deny it. If you have multiple pictures of someone, pictures that you secretly took over the course of years, there's nothing else you can do but to admit. What else can you, like, you have to admit it at that point. Because it's clear you're obsessed. That's insanity. Someone said, this update was explosive. He needs professional help. His secret fantasy became an obsession. Edit to add, so sorry this happened to your family. I'd worry that when his life all falls apart, that his obsession could turn dark. He could go from loving her to blaming her. Keep all evidence and get a restraining order. Facts. Someone else said he would have done this sooner or later with or without the kitchen incident. OP responded, he had made comments to me many times through the years that my wife was out of my league. I would just laugh and agree, she is. I guess he thought his gamble was not so high risk. So final update, 2 days later, this is likely to be my final update as I don't see much more happening after this besides divorce proceedings. Thanks for all the comments. They have helped my wife some with the guilt. Anyway, my brother-in-law returned home yesterday, not because my sister wants him back, but because she can't legally stop him. They are done. I think he realizes that now. The lawyer tells my sister that since my brother-in-law's behavior over the past few days has been documented, there is a good chance she will be granted full custody. He doesn't seem to even want to fight her on that. My sister will be fine. Any love she had for him is gone, and she doesn't seem too broken up about it. The kids don't know what happened yet, but my brother-in-law was never around much anyway when the kids were home. He slept at the fire station many nights and put in a lot of overtime. But it is definitely going to be hard on them once they know what's going to happen. Many commenters have said that there must be more women, but as far as we can tell, there hasn't been. It's really just the obsession with my wife. She has blocked his phone, but on the same night he returned home, he sends my wife an email from an account he just made. Brother! It started with an apology, but then took a turn. He said he never got to finish at the restaurant that day. Sir, there's nothing left to say. Do you not get, like, what has happened? Like, the wife is right. Bro is detached from reality. Do you not see what's going on here, sir? You didn't get to finish? Of course not. Who would let you finish telling them how obsessed and in love with them you are when 1, they're married, 2, you're married, 3, they have no interest in you whatsoever? He said then he went on for paragraphs and paragraphs about all the things he loves about my wife and the desperation he felt that led him to do what he did. He mentioned their mutual attraction again and the sexual tension that he always felt was between them, and ended with a rather large section about me. Let's just say I didn't know. He had such a low opinion of me. He was quite certain that I was not satisfying my wife properly. Anyway, we sent the email to my sister and it will go to the lawyer. It might be enough to get him removed from the house. Finally, my wife isn't great, but she is doing better every day. She does blame herself for being too comfortable around my brother-in-law. She is always careful to set boundaries with other men. In case you haven't figured it out already, my wife is pretty stunning and gets a lot of male attention. But with my brother-in-law, she felt safe to be herself since he was family. Surely no lines would be crossed. She and my sister are cool, and there doesn't appear to be any resentment, so that makes me happy. We will all be okay. It will just take time. Thanks to all who commented and voiced their support. This is absolutely insane. Oh my goodness. Wow. Well, that's it. So next story. This one is from our subreddit. Am I the a-hole for not being sorry about my stepdad, male 50, being choked out by my brother, male 20? To start off, hi Daisha, I am just a girl going through a lot who has been watching your channel to get through it all for almost a year now. Please don't make me emotional. Please. It says you're truly amazing, and if you actually do end up reading this, thank you for your time and keep up the good work. Thank you so much for the support throughout the year. I feel honored that I had even a small part to play in helping you get through whatever you have been going through. Hopefully, we can give you some good feedback on whatever it is we're about to read. I haven't really pre-read this that much, so yeah, it is a bit long too. And this was also 3 months ago. My apologies for getting to this kind of late. A lot of times and this is like a slight ramble. A lot of times I try to give the videos a specific topic so all the stories can kind of like be aligned. But because I do that, sometimes I'll like save a story in a bucket and then wait till I see other similar stories to add to the bucket. So some of the stories might be older because they've been in the bucket for a while, just waiting for other similar stories so that I can have a video that's like cohesive. Anyway, yes, I think for this one, like I just couldn't find a bucket for it. I don't know. I just decided to add it in here. I don't know. But anyways, I'm sorry. Sorry for the delay. So it says, apologies in advance, but this story is super long. I don't even know where to start. For things to have gotten to this point, it's too much background to get into, but let's just say it runs deeper than I can explain, and my feelings are very complicated and conflicted right now. Also, this is my first time ever using Reddit, let alone writing a personal story, so sorry if this is disorganized or seems all over the place. Some context to the situation I'm in. I'm one of 5 siblings. I am giving everyone fake names. I might have to write this out to the side just in case. Let me just put in note. Okay. Actually, I'm going to just copy and paste. So if I need to refer to see who people are, we won't be confused. So she said, older stepsister, Noli, 26. Older stepbrother, Harry, 23. OP, 23. Little stepbrother, Shane, 20. And little half-brother, Ty, 12. So I'm going to try to make it I don't know if she refers to these names throughout the post, but if she does, I'm just going to reiterate who they are and their ages so that it doesn't get too confusing as we read this. All right, so she said, I graduated with my bachelor's 2 years ago and was offered to come live back in the state where my mom and stepdad were to have a place to stay to get myself on track with a new career before being thrown out into the world. Although it was hard to move back in with them because of the triggers I had growing up with my stepdad after living by myself for 4 years in a different state. My mom funded my apartments. I accepted the offer with grace, and especially with how the economy is moving right now. I do help with rent out of respect, as I have had a stable 12-hour night shift job in the medical field for the last year and a half. I actually do have enough money to move out and get my own place as of today, but my mom has convinced me to get a second job and try to save up as much money as I can before moving out so that I'm not, in her own words, struggling when I don't have to. Mama is smart. Mama is so smart. I think that's excellent advice. Keep that 12-hour job, stack as much money as you can. I cannot overstate how much unexpected expenses might come up, or this might come up, or that might come up. The goal for you should at least to have at least 3 to 6 months of your full month living expenses saved up in a savings account. That's rent, that's food, that's, groceries, that's fun time, that's everything that you would normally spend in a month period. Multiply that by 3, 4, 5, or 6. Ideally 6, obviously, and work towards saving that up so that if, God forbid anything happens, at least you have a little bit of a cushion. But anyway, your mother is very wise. Please continue to listen to her. She said, logically speaking, she's not wrong. So I have been working and saving as much as I possibly can. My bank account is looking better than it's ever been, so I can't even complain. And I plan on owning a small house or condo now instead of endlessly renting apartments. That's so smart. She said, I live in the house now with my stepdad, Jeff, 50, Shane, who is the 20-year-old stepbrother, and Ty, who is the 12-year-old half-brother. She said, Shane is her stepdad's child. The 20-year-old is the stepdad's child with another woman, and Ty, the 12-year-old, is mom and stepdad's kid that they had together. My mom happens to be stationed in another state due to a military assignment, but let's just say my mom is the glue to our chaotic, toxic family dynamics. Whenever she leaves for long periods of time, all hell breaks loose, and this has been proven before. So again, to reiterate, there's OP, she's 23, living in the house with her stepdad, who's 50, her stepbrother, who's 20, and is the child of that stepdad, then her half-brother, who's 12, who is also the child of the stepdad and OP's mother, and then OP's mother sometimes is at home, but currently not stationed at home. Are we all clear? If we're not, just rewind. But I feel like I made that as clear as I could. She said, my mom has always been the breadwinner of the house. She is now a lieutenant colonel in the Army. Okay, period. And makes a substantial amount of money. To put it lightly, she is upper middle class. My stepdad, on the other hand, is plain and simply a narcissist, abusive bum. Damn. Why your mama with him then? It always be the women that just got so much going for themselves that just settle for the most. Anyway, she said, my stepdad and mother got married when I was 8, and since the age of 10 up until I turned 20, he never worked. Now, hold on. My stepdad and mother got married when I was 8, and since the age of 10 up until 10 years, she had a grown man in her house for 10 years that never worked. How does that, and being such a high-ranking member of the Army, how did she let that happen? Because my family, my family was in the military. My mom, my stepmom, my dad, my brother, my grandfather, my grandmother. And so I grew up in a pretty, militarized, strict household. We don't play like stuff like that. Not working for 10 years as a man in a military household, not working for 10 years. How did that work? She said he was a high school dropout and was a stay-at-home father who didn't do any of the stay-at-home parent duties. Never cleaned, only made messes, never cooked, only demanded either me or my mom cook. He was extremely emotionally and verbally abusive towards my mother and I, drank and smoked weed every day, and had extreme fluctuating moods and anger issues. I grew up having to walk around eggshells with him and still do. All of us do. I'm still not seeing how your mother, so the thing is, like, if he was a stay-at-home father and that's the reason why he wasn't working, then cool, that's fine. Like, that happens. But you're saying he wasn't even doing the stay-at-home duties. So that's not cool. Because why are you here, sir? She said, I believe my mom had started to finally grow some balls or something and threatened him with divorce, maybe. But when I was 20, he started to do Amazon deliveries to help my mother with payments and to help fund his own child that we had adopted into the family. Shane, the 20-year-old stepbrother. She said Shane was integrated into our family when he was 16 because his mom got charged with CPS cases and had to separate from her kids. My mom told Jeff, the stepdad, that she could not stand to take care of another one of Jeff's responsibilities, so he started to put the work in for Shane, I will say. Fast forward to now, Jeff has gotten Shane a car with his own money, took loans of thousands of dollars out for his college education, and took Shane to multiple basketball games states away because Shane is 6'5" and had a pretty good interest in basketball when he was in high school. Jeff's dream is for Shane to be a famous NBA player for his own sense of ego and personal gain, as you would assume. I, too, was giving Shane $100 every 2 weeks since the very first day I got my job because I love him and wanted him to focus on school while still having a little money of his own. Also, my older siblings, both of Jeff's kids with a third woman, so that's Noli, 26, and Harry, 23, they do not live in the house. But those are also Jeff's kids, and those are OP's step-siblings. Never did anything like that for me growing up, and we have all known each other since I was 8 when my mother and stepfather got married. I would have appreciated if they did something like that for me, but yeah, right. If anything, they were always asking me for money, which I had to put boundaries on. About 2 months ago, I recently found out that Shane didn't tell anybody and dropped out of classes, wasting thousands of dollars simply because it was too hard. He came back from college, and I thought it was because he was just on summer break. Since then, he has been doing literally nothing but playing video games 24/7, and I mean all day, every day. Shane has always been a respectful, diligent, and goal-oriented kid. He was actually my favorite sibling out of all of them simply because of his maturity and laid back energy. Lately, although I had been trying to avoid being home as much as possible due to the overall negative energy the house was starting to exhibit, I noticed that some days when I would come home from work to sleep for the day, I would hear Shane yelling and cursing very loudly and angrily at my little brother, Ty. Mind you, little brother, half brother Ty is 12 and Shane is 20. So why are you yelling at a kid as an adult? She said, granted, Ty, the 12-year-old, can be a bit of an airhead due to him having autism, but this was still very out of character for Shane to get so angry with him. Is it crack? You know, when people start acting out of character like this, she said he always been respectful, diligent, goal-oriented. Now he's snapping on the 12-year-old. Is it crack? One starts to wonder, are there drugs involved? We might see, and then the fact that you yelling at somebody that got autism, that's like especially egregious. She said, I wasn't used to hearing him curse either. Him and my stepdad had also been getting into serious verbal fights ever since Shane had dropped out and done nothing but play video games. I had noticed this shift and would spend most of my days at work or staying at my boyfriend or aunt's house to protect my own peace. There was just too much testosterone in the house for me. Now, to get to the story. Oh, this wasn't the story. Oh, okay, there's only like 2 paragraphs left. So about 3 days ago, I had woke up, got ready for work, said bye to the boys, and left around 6 p.m. Mind you, she works 12-hour night shifts. She said they all seemed normal as usual. Around 7:30 p.m. that night, I got a call from my older stepsister, who is 26. She said I was busy as I was getting report and basically just had work to do, obviously. I made a mental note to myself that I would call her when I got the chance, and I texted her letting her know this as well. About 5 to 10 minutes later, my aunt, my mom's sister, called me. She called me twice while I was still busy, and this started to get me irritated as they knew I was at work. I then got a text from my aunt immediately following saying, please call me back when you can, it's important. I could sense at this point that something was wrong. So I excused myself to call my aunt back first. What she told me shocked me to my core. The first thing she asked was, have you talked to Noli? Noli is the older stepsister who's 26. I said no. My aunt continued on and said Noli called her, which Noli never does since they don't really have a relationship, to tell her that Jeff, the stepdad, broke Shane's, the 20-year-old son, PlayStation and TV. Shane ended up putting Jeff in a headlock chokehold. Jeff called the police and they came to the house, and Shane was officially kicked out of the house for good. When I tell you, so many emotions came flooding to me like an avalanche. All I could say after comprehending everything that was said to me was, what? My aunt then told me Noli, the older stepsister, had called her because she knew that my aunt was the only person and or family near us that could be able to take Shane in, but my aunt said she didn't want to get in between anything and was going to stay out of it, but that she wanted to let me know. I also forgot to mention, very important, my older sister and brother live in a completely different state that needs a plane to get to. They live with their biological mother. My aunt told me to call Noli whenever I could because Noli and Harry, the 2 older, step siblings, were on FaceTime with Jeff, the father, when all of this took place. I'm exhausted even just remembering this night again to tell y'all this story. This is getting very long and I'm barely halfway into the story, so I'm going to have to make a part 2. Okay, well, this is crazy. But I find myself wanting to ask, how do you play into this? Because look, if the stepfather and his son want to fight and argue and the son put his daddy in a chokehold and get kicked out of the house, it is what it is. So how can you, I don't know. Okay, I guess what was the title for not being sorry? You're not the a-hole for not being sorry. So if that was your question, then that's my answer. No, you're not the a-hole. It is what it is. Get your son in check, sir. You got your son at home on the video game all day. essentially following in your footsteps, might I say. And then you want to get mad, break his gaming console and his TV and all of this and kick him out and do. That's their issues, girl. You ain't got nothing to do with that, to be completely honest. But let me go to part 2 and see if there's anything else that, happened. So this is part 2. She said, I hung up with my aunt and called Noli, the older stepsister, back and told her that I got a basic rundown of what happened from my aunt, but wanted to hear from her and Harry, the stepbrother, older stepbrother, exactly what happened. They explained that this all started because Noli and Harry went to visit their grandfather, and that's the stepdad's father. They went to visit the grandfather in person and FaceTimed Jeff, the stepdad, so that they could all talk to each other. The grandfather had asked Jeff if he could see Shane and Ty, both of the grandsons, basically, so that he could see all of his grandkids together. So I hope this is not getting confusing. What happened, what precipitated this whole chain of events? The older 2 kids, all of the kids have the same dad except for OP. So Jeff is the dad. I'm not gonna keep reiterating that fact. But the 2 older kids, Noli and Harry, they went to go see Jeff's dad, their grandfather. While they're there with the grandfather, they FaceTime Jeff. Oh, hey, Jeff, put the other 2 kids on the phone because the grandfather want to see all his grandkids together. There's 2 grandkids here with me physically. The 2 older ones are here with me physically. Now I want to see the 2 younger ones on FaceTime too, so we can all be together. We got it. So she said, Jeff, her stepfather, proceeded to walk into her brother's room where her brother was sitting on his bed playing the game. Jeff called the younger son from upstairs to also come into the room, and when the younger son ran in, he accidentally bumped into the second oldest son's PlayStation that was on the edge of the counter. The 20-year-old son kind of snapped, it seems like, at the 12-year-old, said, Ty, I already told you yesterday to look at where you're going and to pay more attention. You already hit my PlayStation yesterday, and I had to catch it so that it didn't fall on the floor. Apparently, the daddy, Jeff, got defensive, and he was on the side of the 12-year-old. Opie said, I'm not sure why, because Ty, the 12-year-old, can be very clumsy at times, which Jeff knows and gets mad at Ty for too. He told Shane, the 20-year-old, that it wasn't that serious, and that's where everything escalated. Shane said, it's not that serious, but I paid for this with my money. So if Ty breaks it, are you or him going to pay for it? Ooh. Stepdaddy got furious and said, no, I'm not going to pay for your stupid video game console when I pay for everything else you have, including your phone, the clothes you're wearing, and the food that you eat. Mind you, 20-year-old son was on the phone with a friend of his, apparently, when this was happening, and started to get into his dad's face, saying he was tired of him always nagging him, and that he dared his pappy to break his PlayStation so that he would have to pay for a new one. Oh, so he got a little bold because he got a little friend on the phone. Okay. He is saying stepdad has destroyed at least 3 of my things growing up and 1 of my mother's. So he, in a fit of rage, snatched his son's console out of the wall. He then took it to the backyard and smashed it against the concrete. He proceeded to grab a hammer and went back into Shane's room and smashed his TV as well. This is when 20-year-old son started to curse him out. He apparently called him a freaking goofy 5 times, told him that he's 50 years old, still throwing tantrums like a child. He needs to grow the F up and all of that. Then he said, this is why none of your kids want to live with you. Also, again, none of us in the family had ever really heard Shane cursing before, so that means he was seriously upset. Now, the part where he said, your kids don't want to live with you thing was a true statement, as my stepfather had tried to get the 2 older kids to live with him for years, but they refused because of his abusive and toxic behavior towards them as well. Continuing on, my older sister said that's when our stepdad snatched the 20-year-old son's phone out of his hand and began walking to the living room. From there, 20-year-old son tried to reach and get it back. Stepdad pushed him to get it away from him, and then 20-year-old son put Jeff into a headlock, taking him down to the ground. Older sister said everyone was yelling and telling Shane to stop and to let go. Again, very out of character for Shane. I'm telling you, OP, y'all might want to get an at-home testing kit to test this man's urine, because I strongly believe there are drugs involved. I strongly believe this is not normal. It could be some sort of like onset mental health, undiagnosed mental health thing. It could also be that as well. It could be maybe when he went off to college and he says it was just too hard, but maybe he had a traumatic experience that no one knows about. It could also be that, and maybe that's why he's acting out. Either way, like, maybe get a therapist involved to try and see what's really going on, because something is like, this young man is fighting some demons, it sounds like. I could be being a bit dramatic, but it sounds like that to me. She said, now I eventually called both my stepfather and my stepbrother to get their individual stories, and for this part, my stepbrother said that he was scared that if he let go, Jeff was going to swing on him and beat him up badly. He asked my stepfather, if I let you go right now, you're not going to do anything, right? And my stepbrother said he didn't put enough pressure to cause any real damage, but that he was just restraining him and was scared of the consequences that might have happened. Now, my stepfather told me that when he got taken down to the floor, my stepbrother was putting so much pressure on his neck that he could not get him off and he could not breathe. He said his last words before dying were, "Are you really gonna kill your dad?" in the faintest breath. This is just too much. This is all too much. She said, if we're gonna be honest right now, I am rolling my eyes. No, facts. Same, low key. She said, anyway, when my stepbrother finally let him go, my stepfather said, "You tried to kill me," over and over again. He told my stepbrother he needed to get the F out and that he can't live in the house with someone who tried to kill him. My stepbrother said no, and to make him leave, and that's when my stepfather called the police. Stepbrother said he knew my stepfather was serious once he saw the cops pulling up and started to head to his car, but the cops blocked him in the driveway. My stepfather ran out screaming, "Don't hurt him, he's my son," which honestly cracked me up because we're all African American and my stepfather swears that the cops are going to kill his son one day just because they are simply black, which is a valid fear to have, which I was just about to say. But here you are calling the cops on him and then running out and yelling, "Don't hurt him, he's my son." I just find it ironic. And that is 100% something his hypocritical self would do. Oh, man. She said the cops talked to my stepbrother and stepfather separately. They asked my stepfather if he wanted to press charges against my stepbrother, and that because my stepbrother was over the age of 18, he would go to jail for aggravated assault. My stepfather declined that offer, decided to not press charges, and explained he just wanted them to make sure my stepbrother left and escorted him off the property, so they did. Now, some might be wondering, where is my half-brother Ty, the 12-year-old, in this whole situation? Crying up a storm and yelling for them to stop the whole time. What a traumatic experience for a 12-year-old to witness. My stepbrother said that he saw my half-brother crying in the garage, crouched down, and a police officer trying to soothe and calm him down before he drove off. I had a chance to talk to Ty that night and explain that none of this was his fault. My little half-brother is a super introverted and sensitive kid, and I already knew he was 100% blaming himself for bumping into my stepbrother's console, which technically started everything. The way my stepfather raised us was to believe everything wrong that happened that he would inflict upon us was our fault, either because we made him upset in order to abuse us, or that we simply do everything, and I mean everything, wrong. As of today, my little half-brother, Ty, is completely down and has barely spoken, and I don't know what to do to be able to help him or my other little brother. I feel so useless, helpless and tired in this situation. Then she says she rolled her eyes because her stepfather is always playing a professional victim. Then she had her stepbrother's location, so she pulled up on him. After work, they had a heart-to-heart. She said he told her that he would never actually kill his father, that he loved his father very much, but that he's been in a really dark and bad place lately, probably dealing with some sort of depression from his choices in life recently, and that the stepfather really triggered him beyond a point he could simply control like he usually does. She also questioned, she's given him about $1,600 since she started working, and as of today, he only had a total of $12 in his credit card to his name. Where has all his money gone? Instead of on important and trivial matters, all of the money I have given him has gone to food and games or drugs. It was such a slap in the face, and I remembered when I was 20, I was working 2 jobs and going to school, so he really had no excuses. My stepbrother has a sense of entitlement that he needs to work on, and I really think this was a wake-up call or the reality check that he needed. He's just having to learn it the hard way, unfortunately. My final thoughts on everything is that I do not feel sorry for my stepfather in any way, but I also don't feel sorry for my stepbrother. They are both exhausting, and I have been told by family and friends that I have opened up to that this is something that is completely out of my control and to focus on myself for the time being. I do miss Shane a lot, and now that he has turned off his location, I can't check in to see where he is or how he's doing, but I will continue to call him and check in on him. I also gave him the address of my hospital and told him if he ever needed a roof over his head for a night or two, that he could stop by there and I would buzz him in to an unoccupied break room. Girl, I get trying to be helpful, but that is a bit of a risk. You could be putting your own job in jeopardy doing all of that, letting some unauthorized person into a break room at a hospital. I would advise against that, to be honest. But she said he hasn't showed up yet, but again, I am trying to continue to focus on myself and my own problems that I have going on. Any comments on this situation would be nice, or maybe even some sound advice I could relay to Shane too would be nice as well. For anyone who read this entire novel of a story, thank you so much. If anything else happens, I will try to make an update, but for now, that is all. Look, at the end of the day, Shane got to take some agency of his own life, and I don't know if getting kicked out of the house is going to do it. I don't know if this is going to trigger him to change, but I don't think there's really much that you can really say or do that's going to get him to change. It's one of those things where I feel like you just got to have it in you. Like you said, when you were his age, you was working 2 jobs, going to school, making it work. Because you just had it in you to do that. If a person just doesn't have it in them to do that, it's very hard to try to instill that into another person. You might want it for another person, but it's very hard to try and get another person to do that. My thing would be for him to get into some sort of therapy. I think once we start there, other things can fall into place. Because if he is in fact depressed, maybe he can work through that, get the treatment that he needs, start to feel better, and start to have more motivation to get his life back on track. Like I said, for some reason, I just feel like something happened when he went away to college. Something happened, made him want to leave, and now he's at home and he's depressed because of whatever it was that happened, and now it feels like his life is taking a downward spiral. I hope nothing happened, but for some reason, I just get that sense because you said he hasn't been acting like himself, and he's been doing things and snapping, and either something happened or there might be some illicit substances being used or whatever. But, at the end of the day, I think therapy probably is going to be the first step, because obviously his father is not going to, you say he a narcissist. What he going to do? How he going to help? That's all I got. This is one of those above my pay grade type of stories. I think for you specifically, you've done all you can do. You check in on him. You've been trying to, give him money and help him out over the time. I think maybe you should start. You only give him $100 every 2 weeks. So if you can still swing it, then yeah, but just don't, I don't remember if you said you stopped or not. I would say just don't have it turn into a situation where he starts taking advantage and also not appreciating the sacrifice that you actually are making and just giving him basically an allowance at his big age. And you can kind of like assess that situation for yourself. There's lots of things, but I feel like this is like something where we might need to call in the professionals. We might need to have some evaluations and some tests run to kind of really see what we're working with here. And there's no other posts. I really hope the situation has improved since then. I really do. There's also no comments. So little enzymes, if you guys can rally around and comment below what you think and maybe give her some advice on this situation. But I really feel like she's done all she can really do. It's time to bring in the professionals, bring in the parents, bring in the adults, or she's an adult, but you know what I mean. Bring in the older adults, bring in the professionals who can actually do something, you know? All right, so we'll go to the palate cleanser. It's this video I saw on TikTok, and it's just of a dog smiling. The caption says, "Cheese for cheese."
Say cheese. Say cheese. Say cheese.
He's so cute. It's just a little poodle, probably like a poodle mix. He's just sitting over there smiling and cheesing. Poodles are so smart, bro. Every day I play a dog video, I say I want to get a dog, but really it is a lot of work that I don't really have time for. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.